Most people try to get good at Excel the wrong way. Kaggle downloads 12-hour courses, but they all freeze the second a real messy spreadsheet hits their desk. I didn't get good like that. I use a method almost no one teaches beginners, and it taught me way more in one weekend than 100 tutorials ever could. So today I'm going to show you how to use this exact unfair advantage. We're going to cover what your very first Excel project should be, why it teaches you way more than online data sets, and how to use it to build real data analyst skills much faster. But first, let's talk about why the traditional way of learning Excel keeps so many people stuck. The advice every beginner gets is go to Kaggle and download a data set. Clean it, build some pivot tables, make a few charts, publish a project. Now, on paper that sounds productive, but let's talk about what's actually happening. You downloaded a spreadsheet about Brazilian e-commerce orders or Titanic passengers, data you have zero relationship with. So when a number looks off, you have no way to actually know. Is that $14,000 order a data entry error or just a legitimate bulk purchase? Is that duplicate row a mistake or two separate transactions that happen to match? So you just do whatever the tutorial did, you get an output, and then you just move on. But that is the trap. Data cleaning is not a checklist, it is a series of judgment calls, and you cannot make a judgment call about data that you have no understanding of, which means the most important part of the entire project never gets practiced, and you finish with a portfolio piece with no instincts. So you learn Excel features, but you didn't learn real analytical thinking in Excel. I ran into that loop for months, and the thing that finally broke it had nothing to do with Excel. I wasn't trying to level up as an analyst, I was just trying to figure out where my money was going. I was working in a warehouse and delivering pizzas on the side, and every single month my account would hit zero, and I could not tell why. So one night I just logged into my bank account, exported my statements, and dumped them into Excel. No tutorial open, no course telling me what to click, about 1,200 rows of transactions, and then one question I actually needed answered. And within an hour, I was doing things no tutorial ever had gotten me to do. I was interrogating the data, I was catching problems on site, I was hunting down formulas because I needed them to answer my exact questions, not because they were next in the playlist. That spreadsheet taught me more about data analysis than everything I had studied before it, combined. And for a long time, I couldn't explain why. But then it clicked. The advantage was never the bank statements. The advantage was that I already knew the answer key. When you open a stranger's data set, every value is a coin flip. Maybe it's clean, maybe it's broken. You have no reference point either way. But when I opened my own transactions, wrong things looked wrong immediately. I knew that coffee shop showing up under 3 different merchant names was one business, not 3. I knew that one charge on the 14th was a duplicate because I only bought gas once that day. I knew which categories made sense for my life, so when the numbers didn't match my reality, I went digging even further. That is a skill, not writing the formula, not the VLOOKUPs, knowing when the output is lying to you. And every hiring manager I've ever spoke to is desperate for analysts who can question their own numbers or other people's numbers before a stakeholder has to. So again, it's not about learning formulas, it's about learning judgment. So here's how you can turn that into a repeatable system. I call it the answer key method, and it's 5 steps. Step 1, choose a data set that you already know the story about. Bank statements are my favorite because everyone has them and they're inherently messy. But this works for anything that you own. Your budget, your social media metrics, your workout log, if you have a smartwatch, an Oura ring. The only requirement is that when something looks strange, you are the world's leading expert on whatever it actually is. Step 2, clean the mess by hand. Remove the duplicate transaction. Standardize your categories so food with an uppercase or lowercase f stop living under 3 separate lives. Fix the dates so they're one consistent format. Rename the merchant value so they show up in 5 different ways. This step will frustrate you, and that frustration is the curriculum. Every annoying inconsistency that you fix in your own data is one you'll recognize instantly in a company's data. All right, quick pause. Now, if you want to land your first job in data analytics and avoid the lengthy mistakes that I did, click the link in the pinned comment where you can find the exact steps that my students use to land their job in data analytics without going back to school. All right, now let's get back to it. Step 3, answer questions that actually matter to you. Where does my money go? Where am I overspending? How have my expenses shifted over the last 3 months? These sound simple, but they're the same shape as real business questions. What am I overspending on is cost analysis. How have my expenses changed is trend analysis. Step 4, only after you've answered your questions do you build a dashboard. Most beginners get this backwards. They open Excel and wanting to make something pretty, but a dashboard is supposed to communicate answers you already found. When you build it to last, it becomes a reward, not the objective. Step 5, Repeat every month. This is the part no one talks about. A Kaggle project is frozen in time. Once you're done, it's done. But with your bank statements, data refreshes automatically every 30 days. New transactions, new mess, new questions. Peyton Manning was legendary for watching more film than anyone else in football.
If you ask me how long do I watch game film to prepare, I couldn't tell you because I've never kept a clock. I just watch until I feel ready. I watch and I prepare. I can actually get lost in the intense focus of figuring things out that others may never even look at. If you really want to be a game changer out there, become a master observer. Just the willingness to stop and look at things that no one else has even bothered to look at enables game changers to identify real points of meaning.
And the film that made him wasn't his opponent's, it was his own. He studied every snap of games he had already lived through because knowing the context is what turns footage into lessons. So your monthly bank statements are your game film, and it's an infinite practice machine, and it costs you nothing. So that is the method. Now for the skills it runs on. Most Excel courses teach 100 features in whatever order the curriculum says, but this project teaches you each skill at the moment you need it, which is also the moment it sticks. Getting the data in, importing CSV files, converting your data into proper Excel tables, because tables keep your formulas alive when the next month's rows arrive. Exploring it, sorting it, filtering it, so you can actually see what you're working with before touching anything. Cleaning. Text functions to standardize messy merchant names, date functions to get everything in one format, and removing duplicates with intention instead of clicking a button and praying. Connecting and summarizing. XLOOKUP to pull categories from a reference list, if to handle exceptions, sum ifs to total spending by categories and months, and pivot tables to slice it all in seconds. Communication, the charts, and then one basic dashboard that puts all your answers in one place. That list covers most of what a working analyst touches in Excel on the real job. You'll learn it faster than any course can teach it. Now, why does this work so much better than a traditional route? It honestly just comes down to 4 things. Number 1, instant feedback. Anders Ericsson, the researcher whose work is behind the whole 10,000 hour rule for mastery, found that hours alone build nothing. What builds actual skill is deliberate practice, and deliberate practice requires immediate feedback on every attempt. With your own data, every mistake gets caught in seconds because your reality is the greater. That tight loop is why 1 month of this beats 6 months of tutorials. Second, the mess is authentic. Most practice data sets have been pre-cleaned by whoever uploaded them, which means the hardest part of the job was done before you even arrived. But your bank doesn't do that favor for you. You're training on the same chaos that you'll be paid to handle later. Third, motivation survives friction. When a formula breaks on a data set that you care nothing about, you just close the laptop and move on. But when it breaks between you and the answer to where your money went, you fight through it. Caring is not a soft factor. It is the reason you'll still be doing this in week 4. 4, the project compounds. Every month adds new data, and the new data raises new questions. Did that budget change actually work? Is the trend holding? You graduate from just describing the past to testing predictions, which is the exact progression analysts get paid for. If you've been watching my videos, you should know my rule by now. AI is your tutor and co-pilot, never your replacement. The same rule applies here to Excel. You use AI to explain a formula you don't understand, line by line. Ask it to break it down like you're 5. Use it to decode XLOOKUP that keeps the returning an error that you cannot decode. Use it to suggest which pivot table would answer a question that you're stuck on. Use it to review your finished dashboard and tell it what a stakeholder would find confusing. What you don't do is paste in your data and say, build me a spreadsheet. Because the moment AI does the cleaning, it also makes the judgment calls, and the judgment calls were the entire point. You'll end up with a beautiful file, 0 instincts, and a first job where you can't defend a single decision in your own work. The physicist Richard Feynman said the first principle of doing science is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest to fool. AI makes fooling yourself effortless, and this method makes it hard. Download your last 3 months of bank statements, clean them, get them standardized, fix the dates, then answer 3 questions about your own money and spending. Then and only then build one dashboard that shows those answers. Next month, when the new statements drop, run it back. Same process, fresh data, better questions. Do this for 30 days and you won't just know Excel, you would have caught your own errors, defended your own numbers, and built something you can actually walk a hiring manager through line by line. That's not tutorial knowledge, that is actual proof. The unfair way to get good at Excel is not about finding better tutorials. It's about finding a data set you already know the story about, because once you know the story, you can stop guessing and you stop wondering whether the data is broken or you are, and you start thinking like an analyst much faster. Now that you know how I learned Excel, let me show you how I applied the exact same philosophy to SQL. The method is different, but the principle is exactly the same. Stop memorizing the tools and start solving real problems. I'll see you in the next one.